Sonic had a lot of strange officially licensed media in the mid-90s, or at least it looks weird looking back through a modern lens. At the time, it seemed like Sonic had a bit of an identity crisis, as Sega weren't fully sure what the character was going to be yet. He wasn't fully realised at the time. So it really shouldn't be as much of a surprise as it is that they commissioned a German music label called Arcade to pump out a Europop album loosely inspired by the series. Now, if you ever hear people try to list Sonic's pros and cons, one thing that near unanimously will get listed as a positive is Sonic's music. No matter how bad or off the rails the series ever got, the music was something that you could always listen out for and give major props to. Unless you're Sonic Chronicles. They had so much confidence in this album that they threw in the entire game Comix Zone as a PC bonus. So now we have a barometer. Is this album at least good enough to be a Sonic album featuring Comix Zone, a pretty great game as a bonus, rather than including the album as a bonus to Comix Zone itself? Now, it's kinda odd that Sega would license this album and then disassociate themselves from it eternally. How bad could it have been that they never went back and used these tunes anywhere else? For obvious reasons, I can't play too much of each song, but let's delve into this album track by track and get a feel for how good or bad it really is.
They call me Sonic, 'cause I'm faster than sound, I keep on jumping around.
Hey, it's future me here, sent back in time to this video like I'm the goddamn Terminator hell-bent on fixing a broken timeline. My early research was a little off. You see, I thought that Arcade, that music label, were defunct or just not up to anything these days, and that these tracks were free real estate, unearthed nuggets of cringe from the mid-90s waiting to be explored. But what I absolutely wasn't expecting was that another music label at some point over the last few years went and acquired the licenses to 2 tracks off this album. At least as far as I can tell, it's just the 2 tracks. I only found this out when I went to upload the first draft and the video immediately got blocked before I could even post it. It doesn't seem to be a copyright strike, thankfully. But honestly, I just kinda howled with laughter when I realised some company paid for the rights to these 2 songs. Long story short, I'll be breaking up the music previews on tracks 1 and 3 a little more, and adding additional comments in between parts of the song so that hopefully it's more in line with fair use, since I'm kinda half reviewing, half roasting these songs anyway. Though I do implore you all to find a very legal and very cool way to check out the full tracks.
Blue hedgehog Sonic, with incredible speed, I'm moving my feet.
That's the entirety of the lyrics. Those 4 lines come back after a bit of instrumentals. It's not quite up to the lofty standards that the Legend of Zelda rap advert set. You can probably move and groove to this, bust out the old Sonic shuffle as it were. Oh boy, are you ready for a shitty drop and some terrible 90s video editing effects? What an atrocious start to the album. And this is the one they were proud of. It was released separately as a single and even had a music video made for it. When I think peak 240p 2007 YouTube, this video is actually one of the main ones that spring to mind. The instrumental parts aren't good, and the lyrics are even worse. They only call the protagonist Sonic because he is faster than sound and keeps moving around? What? This honestly sounds like a Kids Bop's cover of a better song, so I went looking for the true original German version of the song, and it's still not good.
Hey, hier kommt Sonic, schneller als der Schall, hier und überall. Hey, hier kommt Sonic, Spaß auf Schritt und Tritt, springen hält mich fit.
Honestly, I set the wrong expectation of this German version when the first thing that came to mind for me was Here Kommt Alex, so maybe I'm being a little unfair here. Never mind, 0 Chaos Emeralds out of 7. Like when Knuckles punched Supersonic that time. Pain. At least this album can't get any worse, right?
When do they stop tuning their instruments and play the music?
That is the music!
Now this is a jam. I love that bit where the bell sounds kick in, it really hits the mark for me. Plus the overall melody of the entire track is pretty good, I can definitely vibe to this. The main thing that drives this score down for me is that even with the neat transitions, it just still comes across as a little too repetitive for my liking. Like, I think if the second verse and chorus went a bit harder, then this song would have been perfect. Whereas instead the song uses that chance to calm itself down and essentially just copy and paste the first minute or so of the track again. It also didn't really need to be 5.5 minutes long, though that being said I would definitely take 5 minutes of this over the previous track. Very listenable and catchy. 5 Chaos Emeralds out of 7. Okay, it seems like this album's shaking off its terrible start and it's time to come out all guns swinging with track number 3. Help, I think I'm trapped on the set of a terrible kid show. Like Dick and Dom in the Bungalow, except worse. Like way worse. I'm getting early 2000s albino black sheep flashbacks because I keep expecting it to go ring 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 banana phone. God, I'm old. Again, I'm sorry to have to break up the cringe in this one, but there's only so much I can expose someone to in one sitting anyway. This is the other track I was talking about earlier that had its license picked up by another company, and I'm gonna be honest, this has to have been the worst bit of business I've ever seen. Like, they had to have been scammed out of money here, right? It's like buying an NFT in musical form, except it's somehow even less valuable. To its credit, this song has more than 4 lines of lyrics. That is, if you count La La La's as separate lyrics. Wow, this song is bad. Dear God, there's a part where the song spends way too long building up to a drop, which is just the same verse as the intro. There was a chance to do something clever here with the lyrics, since it's ring ring ring, which could easily have lended itself to some nice pun or something. The instrumental parts are obnoxious and the constant la la la's give me a level of irrational irritation for a song that's probably aimed at 3-year-olds. What does a sonic electronic even entail anyway? This is another 0 Chaos Emeralds out of 7. This is going to Casinopolis with a couple of emeralds in hand, only for Eggman to mug you in a back alley to steal them. This song does not inspire joy, and there's still 8 tracks left to get through. Damn, another palate cleanser of a song to follow up after a terrible one. This one takes a good minute and a half to fully kick in and suffers from very similar pros and cons to Metropolis Trance. A bit long and repetitive, but the underlying track is still fairly good, albeit maybe not as good as track 2, but considering the other tracks on the album so far, I have to latch on to some level of hope here. It feels like it could have been used as a past zone on the US Sonic CD soundtrack, or maybe even a demo version of a Sonic Riders track. A solid 4 Chaos Emeralds out of 7. You might notice a pattern here that will become a recurring theme throughout the whole album. The songs with vocals are abysmal, while the instrumental only tracks are fairly decent. And speaking of tracks with vocals, oh boy, next up we have...
I'm the king of the ring. Come here and play with me.
I'm like Silver the Hedgehog now, because I'm jumping back in time from yet another bad future after I thought I'd fixed the timeline already. It has come to my attention that, unfortunately, King of the Ring is also licensed now.
Me, the king of the ring, bringing you the energy.
God, this would be a great excuse for an ad read. Like, reviewing a licensed album? Without a virtual proxy network in this day and age? What are you thinking, man? And use this code while you're at it to stream the album so that I get that sweet kickback money. I mean, you get a discount.
King of the ring. King of the ring.
It's such a shame I have to break this song up, because this upcoming drop slaps harder than Will Smith at the Oscars ceremony. Where do I even start with this one? What do they mean this is the extended version? And why is it coming back up at track number 10 later? What cruel god did I piss off to deserve that? Why did the lyrics turn this album into a house of lies? They promised this would be bringing the energy, but there's just no oomph whatsoever, which is an unforgivable sin for a techno song. And is it just me, or does this sound a little bit like Bingo Highway from Sonic Heroes? Or am I just really losing my mind at this point? They were so proud of coining the term King of the Ring for Sonic that they use it twice per verse. And just like earlier, they didn't even use it to set up a pun. He's fucking Sonic. Collecting rings is his whole thing. And how can you not turn that into a pun? It's right there, in front of you. Maybe I have Stockholm Syndrome, but I'm actually giving this 1 Chaos Emerald out of 7. Not one of the good Chaos Emeralds though, it can have the shitty purple emerald I guess.
Well, that was fucking dreadful.
Hold on, everybody. Here it comes.
This one isn't as good as the other two instrumental tracks, but on the flip side, it sounds the most in line with actual Sonic music. I could easily imagine this being the background music to a special stage or a minigame. The flaws I pointed out with the other two are also a lot more noticeable here. The biggest thing that lets me down about this song is in the title. It's meant to be a rave zone, but it just seems very lacking. That or Sonic has the most boring raves known to mankind. A decent track that could have been better if it just went a bit harder. 3 Chaos Emeralds out of 7.
Sonic. Entering chemical planet zone.
The intro really sets you up for disappointment here. Also, I guess they didn't want to say Death Egg too early, so they call it Chemical Planet Zone. Damn, that sounds like a really rad name for a Sonic level, not gonna lie. Like it would totally fit in Sonic Forces. I assume it was a typo or maybe a mistranslation of Chemical Plant, but Chemical Planet just oddly works. The song just sort of farts around for a while before the vocalist finally goes Death Egg Mode a few times, and then it gets marginally better. 1 Chaos Emerald out of 7, and most surprisingly of all, that 1 emerald is for the vocals.
We are Tails and Sonic, Sonic and Tails, together forever we play our games. We are Tails and Sonic, on the winning way, cause we're friends for life, together we stay.
Quick, we need you to write a song about Sonic and Tails. Who the fuck is Tails? He's Sonic's best friend, damn it, and that's all we have to go on. The thing I hate most about this song is that it actually sort of bops. My taste in music is taking a fucking beating as a result of listening to this album. The transitions between verses and choruses work well, the beat is fairly catchy, and the vocals work with the rest of the song here. That being said though, we need to talk about these awful lyrics. Were they written by a 5-year-old? Because that's the only way I'd forgive what was written here. Or more accurately, did the writer of this song just get handed a memo saying, Sonic and Tails are friends, as the inspiration for the track, and decided not to put in any more effort beyond what was written there? Like, I used to rag on some of the lyrics to the Sonic Heroes team themes for being a vague description of who the characters are, but at least there was some degree of effort put into translating that into workable lyrics for those songs. Here it's just, they're friends, full stop, they're best friends, full stop. This song could take its 2 Chaos Emeralds out of 7, and let's never speak of this again. They thought I was gonna suffer through these songs a second time. So anyway, I suffered through these songs a second time. They Call Me Sonic, just as shit the second time round. Though King of the Ring seemed a little bit better the second time round. Not enough to go back and change the rating, but I just thought it'd be worth mentioning since this album really has warped my sense of what's good and what's bad. I'm truly ambivalent towards music taste now. Enter the final zone. Weird and ominous, it definitely gives off a sense of foreboding you'd want if you were about to walk into the final zone, as the vocalist keeps saying. The major flaw of this track is being at the end of the album rather than being a penultimate track, especially if it preceded an absolute banger. Otherwise it just kind of feels tacked on at the end. Like this should have been a The Helion to another track's Electric Eye. I'm comparing Sonic albums to Judas Priest now. What the fuck have I done with my life? I can also tell I've listened to far too much of the Initial D soundtrack because the first final zone I heard at the start before the music kicks in made me think it was going to become some sick Eurobeat song. Decent, 2 Chaos Emeralds out of 7. If there's one thing about the Sonic franchise this album got down to an absolute T, it's the way it's so up and down and all around. Some tracks seem to be aimed at toddlers, others are BGM that would probably be a tad more interesting to an older demographic. The lyrics are just hilariously tacky and terrible all the way through the album, but there's this strange charm to how bad they are. Like I always find myself laughing at just how bad they are, and I mean, puts a smile on my face and it's kind of doing its job, I guess, even if it's an unintentional way to do it. For me at least, this whole album is worth it just for Metropolis Trance Zone. That one is my absolute jam. That just works. The rest of it, not so great. Though all things considered, I'd rather just play Comix Zone again.
Yo, Sonic! Sonic! Man, stay off the light speed!
My bad.